the cartoons that make governments nervous, the animations that sparked protests, the films that pushed boundaries so far, entire countries said, no way. Today, we're diving into 12 animated movies from the 1990s that were so controversial, so shocking, that they got banned somewhere in the world. These aren't your typical Disney fairy tales. These are the rebels, the troublemakers, the films that dared to cross lines that society wasn't ready for. Get ready for a journey into animation's dark side, where art meets controversy, where creativity clashes with censorship. This is the story of the most banned animated movies of the 90s. Number 12. South Park. Bigger, longer, and uncut. 1999. Let's start with a bang. South Park's movie debut didn't just push boundaries, it obliterated them with a nuclear explosion of profanity. This wasn't your typical animated musical. Oh no, this was something entirely different. When 4 third graders sneak into an R-rated Canadian comedy called Asses of Fire, they learn curse words that would make sailors blush. The movie features the song Uncle F.U.A. And yes, that's exactly what you think it is. The film holds the Guinness World Record for most swearing in an animated movie. 399 curse words in 90 minutes. But here's the kicker. While America debated whether kids should hear these words, several countries took action. The movie was banned outright in some regions. Malaysia wouldn't let it in theaters. Religious groups worldwide called for boycotts. Parents marched in the streets. The irony? The movie itself was about censorship. It was a brilliant middle finger to everyone trying to control what people could watch. Trey Parker and Matt Stone created a film that proved its own point by getting banned. Pure genius wrapped in controversy. Number 11. Beavis and Butthead. Do America, 1996. 2 teenage metalheads go on a road trip across America. Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. This movie continuation of the TV series brought all the chaos and stupidity of the original show to the big screen, and it scared the hell out of parents everywhere. The TV show had already been blamed for real-world tragedies. A 5-year-old boy started a fire that killed his baby sister, supposedly after watching Beavis play with fire on the show. MTV moved the series to late night and censored all fire references, but the movie? The movie cranked everything up to 11. Beavis and Butthead stumble into a murder plot. They meet criminals. They cause mayhem across multiple states. They're clueless about the destruction they leave behind. Critics called it a celebration of stupidity. Parents called it dangerous. Several countries refused to let it play in theaters during family hours. The movie wasn't just banned. It was moved, censored, and heavily edited in many places. Because sometimes, 2 idiots on a road trip are exactly what society fears most. Number 10. Perfect Blue, 1997. From the mind of Satoshi Kon came a psychological horror that broke every rule about what animated movies could be. Perfect Blue follows Mima, a pop idol who transitions to acting. But as her career changes, her grip on reality slips, and slips, and slips. This wasn't kid-friendly animation. This was adult horror at its finest. Stalkers, identity crisis, reality bending in ways that made viewers question what they were seeing. The movie contained scenes so disturbing that several countries refused to give it proper ratings. It was too intense for regular theaters. In some places, Perfect Blue was banned outright from public screenings. Film festivals had to show it with special warnings. The psychological content was deemed too dangerous for general audiences. This was animation as horror cinema, something many censors couldn't wrap their heads around. The movie proved that animation could be art, dark, twisted, beautiful art that made people uncomfortable. Sometimes that's exactly what art should do. But censors didn't see it that way. They saw danger in every frame. Number 9. Ghost in the Shell, 1995. Masamune Shirow's cyberpunk masterpiece hit theaters like a philosophical bomb. Major Motoko Kusanagi, a cyborg police officer, questions her own humanity while hunting hackers in a future Tokyo. But the nudity and violence weren't the only problem censors had with this film. The movie dared to ask questions about identity, consciousness, and what makes us human. In some countries, these themes were considered too subversive. The philosophical content was deemed dangerous to young minds. The nudity didn't help either. Seeing cartoon characters in adult situations confused rating boards worldwide. Several Asian countries heavily censored the film. Some European nations required special screenings with age restrictions so severe that most people couldn't see it. The movie was caught between two worlds. Too adult for animation fans, too animated for adult audiences. Ghost in the Shell became a cult classic precisely because it was forbidden fruit. The bans made people want to see it more. Sometimes censorship is the best marketing strategy, even when that's not the intention. Number 8. Princess Mononoke, 1997. Wait, a Studio Ghibli film got banned? Yes, you heard that right. Hayao Miyazaki's environmental epic about the conflict between humans and nature spirits was considered too violent for children in several countries. But the violence wasn't the only issue. The movie shows gods being killed. It depicts environmental destruction in graphic detail. Animals die violently. Characters lose limbs. Blood flows freely. This wasn't the gentle Miyazaki that gave us My Neighbor Totoro. This was Miyazaki unleashed, showing the true cost of progress. Some countries banned it from general release, requiring special screenings with adult supervision. The environmental message was considered too political. The spiritual elements offended religious groups. The violence shocked parents who expected another family-friendly Ghibli film. Princess Mononoke proved that even the most respected animators could create something too intense for mainstream audiences. Art doesn't always play by the rules society sets for it. Sometimes the most important messages come wrapped in controversy. Number 7. Akira, 1988/re-released 1990s. Technically released in 1988, but its controversial reputation exploded in the 90s when it hit home video worldwide. Katsuhiro Otomo's cyberpunk masterpiece about psychic powers in post-apocalyptic Tokyo was unlike anything Western audiences had seen. The ultra-violence shocked viewers. Children with godlike powers destroy entire city blocks. Government experiments go horribly wrong. Blood and gore mix with philosophical questions about power and corruption. This wasn't Saturday morning cartoons. This was something entirely different. Multiple countries banned Akira from general release. The violence was considered too extreme. The anti-government themes made censors nervous. Some places required viewers to be over 18 just to rent the video. Parents groups called it animated pornography, which wasn't accurate, but showed how much the movie scared them. Akira opened Western eyes to what anime could be. It proved animation wasn't just for kids. But that revelation came with a price. Censorship, bans, controversy. The movie that changed everything had to fight for the right to exist. But here's where things get really interesting. Let's dive deeper into some films that pushed even more boundaries. Number 6. Wicked City, 1987/1990s. From the twisted imagination of Yoshiaki Kawajiri came an animated nightmare that made censors worldwide break out in cold sweats. Wicked City depicted a world where humans and demons coexisted, but that coexistence came with a very adult price tag. This wasn't just violence. This was sexualized violence that crossed every line imaginable. Demons seducing humans in graphic detail. Transformations that defied biology and good taste. The movie earned its adults-only rating in every country brave enough to rate it at all. Many weren't. Entire continents banned Wicked City from distribution. Australia refused to classify it. The UK cut over 12 minutes of footage and still gave it an 18+ rating. Some countries wouldn't even allow import copies for personal use. This was animation as forbidden art. Beautiful, terrifying, and absolutely not for general consumption. The movie became legendary precisely because it was banned. Underground tape trading networks formed around films like this. People wanted what they couldn't have. Wicked City proved that censorship often creates the very obsession it tries to prevent. What made it worse for censors was the quality of the animation. This wasn't cheap exploitation. This was expertly crafted horror that happened to contain content that would make a horror movie director blush. Art and controversy in perfect, disturbing harmony. Number 5. The Professional. Golgo 13, 1990. When Golgo 13 hit home video markets in the 90s, it brought with it a reputation as the most violent animated film ever made. Duke Togo, the world's best assassin, kills people in ways that defied imagination. But the violence wasn't the only problem. The movie contained explicit sexual content mixed with extreme violence in ways that confused rating boards. How do you rate an animated film that shows things live-action movies wouldn't dare? Several countries gave up trying and banned it outright. Parents rented this thinking it was like other action cartoons. They were wrong. Dead wrong. The first 10 minutes contained more adult content than most R-rated live films. Video stores started keeping it behind counters. Some refused to stock it at all. But the controversy made it a cult classic. People sought out banned copies. Underground networks formed around obtaining forbidden animation. Golgo 13 became the holy grail of adult animation, something people had heard about but few had actually seen. The movie proved that animation could tell any story, no matter how adult. But society wasn't ready for that truth. The bans and censorship reflected fear of animation's true potential. If cartoons could show anything, what did that mean for the medium's future? Number 4. Ninja Scroll, 1993. Yoshiaki Kawajiri struck again with this samurai epic that redefined what animated action could be. Set in feudal Japan, Ninja Scroll followed Jubei, a wandering swordsman, as he battles 8 supernatural demons. But the battles weren't suitable for all audiences. The movie mixed extreme violence with sexual content in ways that shocked censors. Dismemberment was artistic. Deaths were elaborate and graphic. The movie earned its adults-only rating through sheer brutality, but that brutality was crafted with such skill that it became hypnotic. Several European countries banned theatrical release. Australia heavily censored the home video. Some Asian countries refused to allow any version, censored or not. The movie was too intense, too graphic, too unapologetically violent for mainstream distribution. But that intensity was exactly what made it special. Ninja Scroll didn't apologize for what it was. It presented samurai action as violent art. Consequences be damned. The movie inspired countless imitators, but none matched its perfect balance of beauty and brutality. The bans created a generation of animation fans who sought out forbidden films. Ninja Scroll became a gateway drug to adult animation. People discovered that cartoons could tell stories that live-action films couldn't touch. That revelation came with a price: controversy that followed the movie everywhere. Number 3. Vampire Hunter D, 1990. When Vampire Hunter D experienced a revival in the 90s, it brought with it all the controversy of the original plus new fears about animation's influence. This post-apocalyptic vampire tale mixed gothic horror with science fiction in ways that disturbed traditional storytelling expectations. The movie's violence was artistic, but extreme. Vampires died in graphic detail. Blood flowed like rivers. But the real controversy came from the movie's nihilistic worldview. This wasn't good versus evil. This was survival in a world where morality had died long ago. Religious groups objected to the movie's portrayal of vampires as sympathetic characters. Parents were shocked by animation that looked like kids' cartoons but contained adult horror. Rating boards struggled with how to classify something that fit no existing categories. Multiple countries banned or heavily censored the film. Video stores received complaints from parents who rented it expecting family entertainment. The gothic imagery and religious symbolism offended various religious groups worldwide. The movie's revival in the 90s proved that banned films never truly disappear. They return, often more powerful than before. Vampire Hunter D influenced an entire generation of horror animation, showing creators that even the darkest stories could be told through cartoons. Number 2. Legend of the Overfiend, 1990. Here comes the big one. The movie that made censors worldwide question whether animation had gone too far. Legend of the Overfiend mixed tentacle monsters, apocalyptic destruction, and explicit content in ways that defied every rating system ever created. This wasn't just banned. It was banned so hard that some countries made possessing copies illegal. The movie pushed boundaries that most people didn't even know existed. It combined mythology with horror in ways that created an entirely new subgenre of animation. The controversy wasn't just about content. It was about what animation could become. If cartoons could show anything, where were the limits? Legend of the Overfiend suggested there might not be any limits at all. That possibility terrified censors and parents worldwide. Underground distribution networks formed around this movie. People traded bootleg copies like forbidden treasure. The movie became legendary not for its quality, but for its sheer audacity in existing at all. The bans created a mythology around the film that exceeded the actual content. People heard whispers about the most banned animated movie ever made. Those whispers became legends. Those legends became obsessions. Censorship had created the very monster it tried to destroy. Number 1. Fritz the Cat, 90s. Ralph Bakshi's X-rated cartoon cat caused problems when it hit home video in the 90s. Based on Robert Crumb's Underground comics, Fritz the Cat was the first animated film to receive an X rating in America. But the 90s brought new controversies as home video made it accessible to wider audiences. Parents rented this thinking it was a children's cartoon about a cat. They discovered graphic sex, drug use, and social commentary that made them question everything they thought they knew about animation. Video stores started receiving complaints and demands for the movie to be removed from shelves. The movie was banned from general rental in several countries. Australia refused to classify it for home video release. Religious groups organized boycotts of any store that carried it. The controversy grew larger in the 90s than it had been during the original theatrical release. Fritz the Cat proved that adult animation had existed long before the 90s, but home video was bringing it to audiences who weren't prepared. The movie sparked debates about animation's purpose and audience that continue today. The controversy surrounding Fritz showed how changing technology could resurrect old controversies in new forms. What had been acceptable for underground adult audiences became problematic when it reached suburban families. Context matters, and home video removed much of the original context. These 12 films represent more than just controversial animation. They represent the growing pains of an entire medium. Animation in the 90s was evolving from children's entertainment into something much more complex and adult. Each ban, each controversy, each outraged parent group helped define what animation could become. The censors were fighting a losing battle against artistic evolution. Animation was growing up, whether society was ready or not. Today, many of these films are considered classics. What once seemed dangerous now appears innovative. What once sparked protests now inspires film students. Time has a way of transforming controversy into cultural significance, but the battles fought over these movies mattered. They established that animation could tell any story, reach any audience, explore any theme. The medium's maturity came through conflict, through bans, through societies learning to accept that cartoons weren't just for kids anymore. These forbidden films opened doors that can never be closed. They proved animation's power to disturb, to challenge, to make people think about uncomfortable truths. Sometimes the most important art is the art that makes us uncomfortable. The next time someone tells you animation is just for children, remember these 12 rebels. Remember the movies that dared to be banned. Remember the films that changed everything by refusing to apologize for what they were. Because sometimes, the most dangerous thing art can do is exist at all.